The snow fell hard from the sky, covering the ground in a thick white blanket. The wind howled across the frozen hills, cold and sharp like a knife. In the middle of this silent, icy world, a woman named Mara walked slowly, her arms wrapped tightly around her baby. Her baby's name was Leo. He was only a few months old. His little face was red from the cold, and his tiny body shook in her arms. Mara held him close to her chest, trying to keep him warm. Her coat was torn, her boots wet. But she did not stop. She could not stop. If she did, Leo would not make it. Mara had once lived on a space colony far from Earth. She was part of a science team sent to explore new planets. But their ship had been attacked. It had crashed here, on this strange, frozen world. The others were gone. Some died in the crash, others were taken by the cold. Now, only Mara and Leo were left. For ours, Mara had walked across the snow, looking for shelter. Her legs hurt, her hands were numb, and her heart was heavy with fear. But she kept moving. She had to find a place to hide from the storm. She had to protect her baby. Finally, as the sky began to turn dark, she saw something, a small rocky hill with an opening like a cave. It was not big, but it might keep out the wind. Mara hurried toward it. Stumbling in the snow, she crawled into the cave, holding Leo close. The cave was dry and quiet, but still cold. There was no fire, no food, no help. But it was better than the open snow. Mara sat down against the wall, pulled Leo close, and wrapped him in the last piece of thick cloth she had. Leo made a small sound, a soft whimper. He was cold, so cold. His lips were turning pale. Mara's eyes filled with tears. She had tried so hard to keep him safe. She had walked so far. But now, deep in her heart, she was afraid she had reached the end. There was nothing left to do, except sing. With a shaking voice, Mara began to hum a soft tune. It was an old lullaby one her mother had sung to her when she was a little girl on Earth. The words were simple, like a whisper in the wind, sleep. Now, my star, don't fear the night. Mama is here, holding you tight. Her voice was low and cracked, but she kept singing. She rocked Leo gently in her arms as she cried. The baby was quiet now, eyes half closed, his breathing soft. The snow outside still fell, and the wind still roared. But inside the cave, her song made the silence feel a little warmer. Mara rested her forehead against Leo's. She kept singing, though her voice was growing weak. Dream of the sun, warm on your face. Dream of a safe and peaceful place. The last word left her lips as a whisper. Her eyes closed. She felt her strength slipping away. Maybe this was the end. Maybe they would fall asleep together and not wake up. Then she heard it, footsteps, crunching in the snow, slow, steady, getting closer. Mara's eyes opened wide. Her heart jumped. She looked toward the cave entrance. The snow outside was still falling. But now she saw a shadow, tall, moving, not human. She quickly pulled Leo close and reached for a sharp piece of broken metal she had kept in her coat. Her fingers wrapped around it, tight and ready. The footsteps stopped right at the edge of the cave. Mara did not speak. She did not breathe. Then a voice came, soft, strange. It didn't sound like English, but it wasn't angry either. It was like a machine trying to speak, cold. Help, yes? Mara's heart pounded. The voice came again, this time slower. Human, child, danger. A figure stepped into the cave. It was tall and wore metal armor. A blue light glowed from its chest. Its face was covered by a smooth helmet. It looked like a soldier, but not from Earth. Mara held the sharp metal close, ready to protect Leo. But the figure did not attack. It did not raise a weapon. Instead, it crouched low and reached into a small bag on its belt. From the bag, it pulled out a small orb. The orb began to glow red. The air around it grew warm. The figure placed the orb gently near the baby and backed away. Warmth filled the cave. Not hot, but warm enough to stop the cold from biting. Mara stared in shock. Leo stirred in her arms, and a bit of color returned to his cheeks. The figure sat down, not too close. It spoke again in its strange, slow voice. Safe now. Cold. We'll stop. You. Rest. Mara looked at her baby, then at the figure. She did not know who or what it was, but it had helped. It had brought heat. It had not hurt them. Her eyes stayed as checked. Mara did not sleep that night, even though the cave was now warmer. And the strange orb glowed with soft red light. Her eyes stayed open. She sat with her back against the wall, holding Leo close. Watching the stranger in armor, the tall figure didn't move much. It sat a few feet away, arms resting on its knees, head slightly tilted. It was watching her too, but not in a scary way, more like it was making sure she was okay. Mara's heart still raced. She didn't know who or what this being was, but so far, it had not hurt her or Leo. It had brought warmth. It had spoken with care. Still, she kept the sharp metal rod near her side. Just in case, Leo stirred in her arms. He was warmer now. His little fingers moved again, and his breathing was stronger. Mara kissed his forehead and closed her eyes for just a second. The voice came again, soft and slow. You, human, name. Mara looked up. The figure was pointing at her gently, as if asking. She hesitated, then spoke. Mara. The figure nodded. Then it pointed at itself. Tarn. Mara repeated it slowly. Tarn. It nodded again. Yes, Tarn. Then Tarn pointed to the baby. Child name? Mara looked down at Leo and smiled a little. Leo. He's my son. Leo, small, cold, but strong. Mara blinked. She hadn't expected the alien to understand so much. But Tarn was trying, using simple words, kind words. She looked at the orb. What is that? She asked, pointing. Tarn held up 3 fingers and tapped the device on his wrist. Then he spoke again. Heat source, scout kit, not forever, short time. Mara nodded. She understood. The warmth wouldn't last long. They needed to move. Is there a place? She asked. Shelter. Food. Somewhere safe. Tarn looked at her for a moment. Then he stood up slowly. He walked to the entrance of the cave and pointed toward the horizon. South. 2 hills. 1 cave. Supply station. Old but safe. Come. I help. Mara looked down at Leo. He needed food. He needed safety. So did she. She didn't know if she could trust Tarn fully, but right now, he was the only help she had. She nodded. Okay, she said softly. We'll go. As the sun rose, though it was weak and hidden behind thick clouds, Mara and Tarn began their journey. Tarn walked ahead, clearing snow with his long steps. Mara followed close behind. Leo wrapped tightly in cloth and a small blanket Tarn had given her from his pack. The snow was deep. Her legs hurt. But the wind was calmer today, and the heat orb still worked for now. She placed it close to Leo as they walked. Hanging it from her scarf, they crossed over a small frozen river, past broken rocks, and moved between 2 hills that looked like giant teeth in the ground. Tarn was quiet most of the time, but now and then he looked back to check on them. Mara noticed something strange. Tarn walked like a soldier, alert, careful, always scanning the area. Are you military? She asked, trying to speak simply. Tarn stopped and turned. Scout, defender. My ship gone. I alone. She understood. He, too, had crashed here. Same, Mara whispered. My ship crashed. Everyone. Gone. Tarn nodded slowly. We survivors. Now we, together. There was something gentle in his voice. Not like a machine. Not cold. Human, in a way. By midday, the sky turned darker. Thick clouds rolled in. The wind picked up again. Tarn moved faster. Storm. Soon. We hurry. Mara pushed forward, though her legs were tired. Leo cried softly. She sang to him as she walked, just as her strength began to fail. Tarn stopped and pointed ahead. There it was, a hidden metal door in the side of a rock wall. Half buried in snow, faded symbols covered it. Tarn pressed a code into a small panel. The door creaked open. Inside was a narrow tunnel, warm air blowing out. Lights flickered on the walls. Tarn led them inside quickly. The door shut behind them. Mara stepped into the warmth and dropped to her knees, holding Leo close. He looked around, wide-eyed, safe again. Tarn opened a box on the wall and pulled out small food packs. He handed one to Mara. She tore it open. The food was strange, jelly-like, but it had energy. She fed Leo slowly. He ate. Then he smiled. It was the first smile she had seen in days. Tears filled her eyes. Later that night, after Leo had fallen asleep on a soft blanket, Mara sat beside Tarn near a small heater inside the shelter. She looked at him closely now. His armor was old, scratched. His movements were slow, like he was hurt. But he never complained. "You saved us," she said softly. "Thank you." Tarn did not answer at first. Then he looked at her and said, "No child should freeze. I lost many. Not again." Mara understood. Tarn had seen loss to. She touched his arm gently. "You're not alone now." Tarn looked at her. Mara opened her eyes slowly. Warm air filled the shelter. For the first time in days, she had slept without fear. Leo lay beside her, wrapped in the soft blanket Tarn had given her. His tiny chest rose and fell gently. His skin looked better now. He was not shivering anymore. She smiled and kissed his forehead. Tarn was already awake. He stood near a wall, checking a small screen that blinked with red lights. His helmet was off now. Mara could see part of his face. His skin was a light gray color, with small lines running along his jaw. His eyes were dark, but not cold. They looked tired and kind. He turned when he heard her move. "You rest." "That is good," he said in his slow voice. Mara sat up and stretched her arms. "I feel better." "Thank you again." Tarn nodded. He walked over and handed her another food pack and a small cup of warm liquid. It smelled sweet. She took it with both hands and drank slowly. It warmed her chest, but then she noticed the screen Tarn had been watching. The red lights blinked faster now. "What is that?" she asked. Tar and looked serious. "Not good. Drones." "Zarnak?" "Close." Mara's heart sank. She remembered the name. "Zarnak. They were the ones who attacked her ship. The ones who caused the crash. They found us." "Maybe. Drone signal. Watching. Not far." She looked down at Leo and held him close. "We can't stay here, can we?" Tarn shook his head. "No, not long. But I plan. Other place. Better. Strong walls. Communication tower. We can send message. Call help." Mara felt a small flame of hope. Someone will hear us. Yes. Maybe human ship. Maybe Tarn scout team. Mara stood and wrapped Leo to her chest. "Then let's go." They left the shelter just before sunset. The snow had stopped falling, but the wind was still strong. Tarn walked ahead again, scanning the area with a small device. He held a weapon now long, black, with blue lights running along the side. Mara followed closely. Her legs still ached, but she moved faster now. She knew every step mattered. As they walked, they saw strange signs in the snow. Burned trees, scorch marks on the ice, large claw-like tracks. "What did that?" Mara asked, her voice shaking. Tarn did not answer right away. Then he said, "Zarnak hunting beast, big, smart, follows drones. Destroys all." Mara held Leo tighter. She could hear her own heartbeat. "Will it follow us?" Tarn looked up at the sky. "If drones saw us, yes, we move fast, stay low." As they crossed a narrow valley, Tarn suddenly raised his hand. "Stop." Mara froze. A soft buzzing sound came from above. Something small flew through the sky round, with blinking red eyes. "A drone," Mara whispered. Tarn raised his weapon slowly. The drone turned as if it saw them. It moved closer. "Down." Tarn shouted. Mara dropped to the ground and covered. "Leo." A sharp sound cut the air's rap. Tarn fired. The drone exploded in a flash of blue light. Small pieces fell into the snow. Mara sat up. Did it send a signal? Tarn looked at the broken drone. "Maybe, but not full message. We still have time." They moved again, faster now. The sky grew darker. The cold returned, but in the distance, Mara saw a shape tall, metal, rising from a hill. "That's it?" she asked. Tarn nodded. "Yes." "Tower. Very old, but still works." They reached the tower just as night fell. It was a tall, gray structure built into a rocky hill. Faded symbols covered the door. Tarn entered a code. and the door opened with a loud clunk. Inside was dusty, but solid. Lights blinked slowly on the walls. There was a large machine in the center round, with wires running into the walls. This place, it was human? Mara asked. Yes, very old human base, for deep space signals. Few still working. We lucky. Tarn guided her to a small bench. Mara sat and let Leo rest in her lap. He was still asleep. His face com.TARN worked quickly. He opened a panel on the wall and connected his wrist device to the machine. Sparks flew for a moment, then a screen lit up with a soft glow. I fixed signal booster. But you speak. Human voice strong. Mara looked at him, surprised. Me? Yes, your mother. Your hope. Speak truth. Her throat felt tight, but she nodded. She walked to the screen, pressed the record button, and took a deep breath. She looked down at Leo, then back at the screen. My name is Mara. I'm from the explorer ship Hopebound. We crashed on this frozen planet. All others are gone. Only my baby and I are left. If anyone hears this, please help us. Please. We are still alive. She pressed send. The signal flashed, then disappeared into the stars. Tarn placed a hand on her shoulder. Now, we wait. But they didn't wait long. A loud sound shook the tower. Boom. Then again. Boom. Boom. The walls trembled. Mara jumped up and held Leo close. What is that? Tarn looked out through a small window. His face grew dark. Zarnak, they found us. Beast is with them. Another boom shook the floor. A loud roar echoed across the hills. Tarn raised his weapon. We hold here. I protect. You hide. Mara looked at him with fear. You can't do it alone. He smiled weakly. I'm not alone now. I fight for something real. I fight for hope. He opened the main door and stepped outside. The snow lit up with fire. The battle had begun. The sky outside turned red with fire. Loud blasts shook the old tower. The sound of heavy steps came closer, like something big walking through the snow. It was no longer quiet. The storm was no longer the danger. Now, it was the enemy. The air NAK. Inside the tower, Mara held her baby tight. Leo stirred in her arms but did not cry. He felt the fear in the air, just like his mother did. Tarn stood at the door, weapon ready. His armor glowed faintly. His eyes stayed fixed on the snowy field outside. Zarnak beast close, strong, smart, but slow. Mara stood near the back of the room, heart beating fast. Will they break in? Tarn looked over his shoulder. Yes, but not fast. Tower walls strong. I slow them. You hide. Back room, safe spot. Mara shook her head. Not without you. Tarn paused. Then he said gently, I protect. You must survive. For child. Mara looked down at Leo, who opened his eyes for a moment. She knew Tarn was right. She had to live for her son. She kissed Tarn's armored hand and whispered, come back. Tarn gave a small nod and stepped outside. Outside, the snow was red from flames. The sky flashed with energy blasts. The Zarnak beast appeared first, a giant thing with thick arms and long claws. Its skin looked like black stone, but steam rose from it like fire burned inside. Behind it came smaller Zarnak drones, flying in circles. Their red eyes blinked fast, locking onto the tower. Tarn raised his weapon and fired. A bright beam of blue light shot forward, hitting one drone. It exploded, pieces flying in the air. The other drones circled faster. The beast roared and ran toward Tarn. Tarn didn't move. He waited. At the last second, he jumped aside, rolled through the snow, and fired again, this time at the beast's leg. The blast hit the joint. The beast stumbled and howled in pain. Inside the tower, Mara watched through the window. Her hands shook, but her eyes stayed open. She whispered softly to Leo, stay quiet, baby. He's fighting for us. Just a little longer. The tower shook again as the beast slammed its claws against the outer wall. Mara looked around. She had to help somehow. She saw the old signal machine Tarn had used earlier. Sparks still flew from its wires. A small control panel blinked on the side. Mara had worked on machines before. Back on her ship, she ran to it, careful not to drop. Leo, and looked closer. There was a power booster half damaged but still working. She remembered something Tarn had said. Tower strong. Signal strong. Energy burst, maybe shock. Mara took a deep breath. She placed Leo safely in a corner, wrapped in a blanket, and returned to the panel. I can do this. She whispered. Outside, Tarn was tiring. His shots had slowed. The drones had learned his moves. One hit him in the side. Sparks flew from his armor. He fell to one knee. The beast roared again and raised its claw. But just before it could strike, the tower flashed. A loud humming came from inside. Then dash boom. A wave of energy burst out from the tower walls. The drones dropped from the sky. The beast staggered back, roaring in confusion. Tar and looked up. The tower was glowing. He smiled. Mara, you strong too. Inside, Mara fell back as the energy pulse ended. The lights flickered, but the tower still stood. The machine sparked. Now broken for good, but the signal booster had worked as a defense weapon. She picked up Leo and ran to the door. Outside, smoke filled the air. Snow was black. From the blast, the beast stood weak now, one leg barely moving. Tarn limped forward, blood running from a crack in his side. The beast saw Mara and charged. One last time. Tar and jumped in front of her. He held up a glowing rod, his last energy cell. He slammed it into the ground. A bright flash followed. The beast froze mid-step, its body turning stiff. Then it fell, hard, dead. Silence returned. Mara dropped to her knees beside Tarn. You did it. You stopped it. Tarn smiled weakly. We've stopped it, together. She helped him up slowly. His armor was broken in many places, but he could walk. Leo let out a small happy cry, as if cheering. They looked at the sky. The stars began to peek through the fading storm. Then a light blinked above. A soft hum filled the air. Mara gasped. A ship, a real ship. It came down fast, but gentle. Its symbol, a human mark, shone bright on the side. Tar and touched her shoulder. Your voice was heard. The ship landed near them. Its door opened. Human soldiers ran out, men and women in white suits with blue helmets. One of them rushed to Mara and knelt beside her. Are you Mara? We received your signal. We're here to take you and your child home. Mara nodded, tears falling. This is Leo, she said. He's safe now, thanks to Tarn. She looked behind her. Tar and stood tall. Though hurt, the soldiers looked at him, unsure. He's a friend, Mara said firmly. He saved us. The commander walked to Tarn and saluted. Thank you, Tarn simply said, mother and child. Worth saving. As the ship lifted into the sky, Mara sat beside Tarn. Leo sleeping peacefully in her arms. She looked out the window. The snowy planet growing smaller below. Tar and sat beside her, head leaning back, eyes closed. They had survived. They were not alone anymore. Hope had answered. The human ship moved smoothly through space. Soft lights glowed inside the cabin. Warm air filled the rooms. It felt like a dream to Mara. She sat on a padded bench, holding Leo close. He slept peacefully now, his tiny hands curled near his chest. His skin was no longer cold. His breath was strong. Every sound, every movement told Mara that he was truly safe. She looked across the cabin. Tarn sat in a seat near the wall. His armor had been removed by the crew's medics. A thin wrap covered his chest where the injury had been cleaned and treated. His face looked calm, though tired. A nurse walked in and smiled at Mara. Your baby is healthy, she said. He just needs rest. You too. Thank you, Mara replied softly. The nurse nodded and left the room. Mara looked at Tarn again. How are you feeling? Tarn turned his head slowly. Better. Ship air. Soft. No snow. Good. Mara smiled. Yes, it feels like home again. Tarn looked down at Leo. He's strong. Many would not survive snow. But he, like flame, small, but brave. Mara's eyes filled with tears, but she smiled. He is my little star. Tarn nodded. Then he said, you are strong too. You fought. You sang. You called Sky. And Sky answered. Mara felt warmth in her chest. For days, she had only thought about survival. Now, she began to feel something more relief, peace. Later, the ship's commander entered the cabin. He was a tall man with kind eyes and silver stripes on his shoulder. "I'm Commander Raylan," he said. "We picked up your distress signal. The moment we heard it, we turned our path to find you." Mar stood and shook his hand. "I didn't think anyone would hear me," he smiled. "Sometimes the smallest voice reaches the farthest place." His eyes moved to Tarn. "And this one? He's not human, but he helped you?" "Yes," Mar said quickly. "Tarn saved my baby's life. He saved mine too. He fought the Zarnik." Alone, Raylan nodded with respect. "Then he is an ally." He turned to Tarn. "You are welcome aboard this ship, friend." Tarn gave a small nod. "Thank you. I serve peace, not war." The ship traveled for 2 more days through the stars. It was headed toward Station Haven, a large human space base near a peaceful planet. It was a place for survivors, explorers, and families. Mars spent her time feeding Leo, resting, and talking with Tarn. They shared stories, simple ones. Tarn told her about his home, a green planet with tall trees and rivers that glowed at night. Mars spoke of Earth, the sound of birds, and the taste of real bread. They laughed quietly together. It was a new kind of bond, one built not on language, but on trust. One night, as Mara rocked Leo to sleep, she asked Tarn a question. "Will you go back to your home?" Tarn looked at the stars outside the window. "Maybe one day. But now, no. My people think I'm lost. They may never come. You could stay with us," Mara said. Tarn turned to her. "With humans, yes," she said. "You saved us. You're part of our story now." Tarn gave a small smile. "Then maybe I stay." When they finally reached Station Haven, Mara stepped out of the ship holding Leo. Warm light bathed the landing platform. People rushed forward to welcome them, doctors, helpers, and leaders. The commander gave a full report. Mara and her child survived the crash. They were found on a frozen planet. They are brave. He looked at Tarn. "This is Tarn, not human but a friend." He stood against the Zarnik. "He protected life. He is welcome here." The people clapped softly. A young girl ran up to Mara and gave her a flower made of folded paper. "For the baby," she said. Mara smiled. "Thank you." Life at Station Haven was peaceful. Mara got a small room with a window and warm lights. She had food, clean clothes, and most of all, safety. Leo grew stronger each day. He laughed more now. He reached for everything with curious hands. Tarn was given a place too. He spent time helping the engineers fix old systems. He didn't speak much, but everyone liked him. Children followed him, asking questions. He answered in simple words, patient and calm. One day, Mara sat under a tall glass dome, watching the stars with Leo in her arms. Tarn joined her, holding a small device. "This is for you," he said. She looked at it. It was a small recorder. When she pressed play, she heard her own voice singing the lullaby from the cave. "Where did you find this?" she asked, surprised. Tarn smiled. "Ship signal saved it. I copied. It is memory. Strong one." Mara felt her throat tighten. That song had once felt like goodbye, but now it was part of a new beginning. "Thank you, Tarn," she said. He nodded. "Your voice saved your child, and it saved me too." Many weeks passed. One morning, a council meeting was held. Mara was asked to speak. She stood before the group with Leo on her hip and told her story: the crash, the snow, the song, and the footsteps. She spoke slowly, with simple words, but everyone listened. When she finished, the council leader stood and said, "You are a mother. You were alone, but you never gave up. Your story gives us hope." He turned to Tarn. "And you, Tarn, you fought with courage. You stood by a human when others might have walked away. We honor you." The whole room stood and clapped. Tarn lowered his head. Quiet as always. Mara smiled. Leo reached up and touched Tarn's arm, giggling. Tarn touched the baby's hand gently. That night, as stars shone through the glass above, Mara sang again, "Sleep now, my star. Don't fear the night." This time, her voice was not weak. It was full of life. And this time, she was not alone. The days passed peacefully on Station Haven. Mara and Leo now lived in a small room with warm lights, soft walls, and a large window showing the stars. Every morning, Leo would wake up smiling. He had grown stronger, and now he could sit up and reach for toys Mara had made from soft cloth and small pieces of wire. Mara had also changed. The fear in her eyes was gone. She helped in the kitchen, taught young children, and smiled more often. She was no longer just a survivor, she was part of a new life. Tarn had also found his place. Though quiet, he helped repair damaged systems in the station. He taught young engineers how to make power cells last longer and how to listen to machine sounds. People respected him. But one morning, the peace broke. A loud alarm rang through the station. Red lights flashed. Mara, who was feeding Leo, froze. The soft hum of the station was gone. Only the alarm sound filled the room. She rushed to the door and opened it. People were running in the hall. A voice spoke over the intercom. Emergency alert. Unknown ships detected near Station Haven. Possible Zarnik presence. All civilians stay indoors. Defense teams report to stations. Mara's heart sank. Not again. She whispered, holding Leo close. Tarn appeared at her door just seconds later. His calm face was now serious. Zarnik. Small group. Maybe scouts. Testing defenses. Will they attack? Mara asked. Maybe not now. But they are watching. Looking. Preparing. Mara sat on the bed, hugging her baby. Why do they keep coming? Why do they want to hurt us? Tarn sat beside her. Zarnik destroyed to control. They fear what they do not understand. But we fight with truth and heart. They only have fear. Later that day, the council held a meeting. Mara, Tarn, Commander, Raylan, and the leaders of the station sat around a table with glowing screens. Raylan spoke first. A group of Zarnik ships passed close. They did not fire, but they sent drones to scan the outer walls. Did they respond to any messages? Asked a council member. No, Raylan said. But we... The cold stars shone outside Station Haven, but inside, every heart was warm and strong. The warning about the Zarnik ships had changed everything. People worked harder now. They trained. They built better defenses. And most of all, they stood. Together. Mara helped in the medical room, learning how to care for others. She was not a soldier, but she wanted to protect the people who had protected her. Leo had become the heart of the station. His laughter echoed in the halls, reminding everyone why they fought so hard to survive. One night, after Leo had fallen asleep, Mara stood by the window. Tarn stood beside her in silence, his tall frame like a shadow of safety. They looked out at the stars. Do you think they'll come again? She asked softly. Tarn nodded. Yes. Zarnik did not stop. But this time, we are ready. Mara looked at him. What will happen if they attack? Tarn turned to her, his voice slow and steady. We protect each other. We stay strong. We do not run. This station is our home. The attack came at dawn. The first warning was a low, deep rumble. The lights flickered. The station's alert system buzzed with urgency. Zarnik ships detected. 2 warships, 1 destroyer. They are charging weapons. All defense teams prepare. Mara grabbed Leo, holding him close. Her heart pounded. The station shook again as the first blast hit the outer shields. People rushed through the halls. Some carried children. Others carried tools or weapons. The entire station moved like one living body. Fast, careful. United. Tarn stood at the front of the defense bay. He had changed back into full armor, his tall figure glowing under the red lights. Commander Raylan stood beside him. We have one chance, Raylan said, if we hit the destroyer first. The other ships might fall back. Tarn nodded. I will lead the strike team. Raylan looked worried. Are you sure? You've already done enough. Tarn looked at the door behind him. He saw Mara holding Leo. The baby reached out, his small hand in the air. Tarn nodded once. I must. For them. Mara watched Tarn walk away, his metal boots echoing on the floor. She held Leo tight as the station shook again. Then she turned and ran toward the command center. I want to help. she told the crew. I know the medical systems. I can help the wounded. They gave her a vest and a small badge. She got to work, her hands shaking but steady, outside, in the cold dark of space. Tarn and the strike team launched in small fighters. The Zarnik destroyer glowed with red lights. It moved like a monster, ready to bite. Tarn's voice came through the station speakers. For haven, for peace. For the child who sang in the snow. Then the fighters attacked. The battle was fast and fierce. Lights flashed across the black sky. The station shook again and again. Sparks flew in the hallways. But the people did not give up. Inside the command room, Mara watched the screens. She saw one of the small fighters move close to the Zarnik ship. It was TA or N. He flew with perfect skill, dodging the red blasts. Then, when the time was right, he fired a special charge of power cell made from the old tech he had saved. It hit the weak spot of the destroyer. A bright flash filled the sky. The Zarnik destroyer broke apart, fire spilling across the stars. The other ships turned and flew away. Cheers filled the station. Mara cried. She held Leo close, whispering, "He did it. He saved us." Hours later, when the fires were out and the danger was gone, the doors opened. The fighters returned. But one was missing. TA or N. People stood in silence. Mara stepped forward. "Where is he?" she asked. A pilot spoke quietly. "He stayed behind. He made sure the charge hit. He didn't leave." Mara felt her knees weaken. She sat on the floor, holding Leo. The baby looked at her and touched her cheek. Then a voice came from the radio station Haven. "This is Tarn. I am alive, damaged, but returning." Cheers and laughter filled the halls again. Tarn's ship limped back slowly. People rushed to help him out of the fighter. His armor was scorched, his arm damaged, but he was alive. Mara ran to him and hugged him tightly. Leo reached out and touched his chest. "Welcome home," Mara whispered. Tarn looked down and smiled softly. Home? Yes, in the days that followed. Station Haven became a symbol of hope across the galaxy. News spread of how a group of survivors, led by a quiet alien and a strong young mother, had pushed back a great enemy. Mara stood beside Tarn during the speech given by Commander Raylan. "This station is more than metal and machines. It is a light in the darkness," Raylan said. And that light began with a mother, a child, and a voice in the snow. People clapped. Leo clapped too, not understanding the words, but feeling the joy. TA or N looked at Mara. "You sang for him in the snow. Now the stars sing for us." Mara smiled. "And we will never be cold again." The story of the mother, the baby, and the strange footsteps in the snow became a legend, a tale passed to every new child, every new settler, every lost soul who needed hope. And it always ended the same way. They found light in the cold. They found family in the dark. And in the heart of space, they found home.